everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am just beyond excited. My mind is exploding right now. Excited to have Ashley Smith on. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm also very excited to be here.
Super excited. So also known as, Ashley is also known as Bored Becky to the NFT community, but we will get to more of that later, because what we're going to do is we're going to first start with your real estate experience. That's how I first connected with you. I saw that you were into real estate and NFTs, and I was like, this is a woman that I need to talk to. So give us a little bit of information on how you got into real estate and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so I'm a residential realtor in Vancouver, Canada. I've been in real estate since the beginning of 2008. Just been trucking along with my business, and but I've been very involved in the profession, like in the industry. I'm one of these like perpetual volunteers that's been involved in like the associations and our regional boards and that sort of thing. So pretty early on in my career, I jumped on the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver's board of directors. And I served on that board for 9-10 years or so. And most recently was the chair of the board and the media spokesperson and all of that fun stuff, which Vancouver, if you've ever been to my part of the world, real estate is the one thing everyone talks about all of the time. So in the news, that's what everyone's talking about, what's going on in the market, that sort of thing. And I've served my tenure there. I'm now currently a director at the the BC Real Estate Association. So it's like a provincial body, and we're involved in different things. I'm involved in like government relations. So needless to say, I have a bunch of contacts in the real estate profession. And I've always been really interested about what's next. How's it going to impact people in the industry? How's it going to impact the consumer? And I mean, it does segue, and it is probably the reason why I got into NFTs. So sitting on the board, a lot of the things we were talking about when we were discussing future scenario planning and what's going to happen in the environment, blockchain was a constant theme that every year would come up in a probably more meaningful way. And then, of course, other things associated with blockchain technology like cryptocurrency, how may that impact the home buying and real estate buying and selling experience, that sort of a thing. And fast forward, I'm an entrepreneur. So Gary V is one of the, fun podcasts and people that I spend my downtime listening to while walking the dog, listening to his podcast. And he started talking about NFTs. I had heard about NFTs earlier in the year in a more like fluffy sort of way, a roundabout way through Clubhouse, maybe January, February, March. There were things going on in the space. But at the time it didn't resonate. Like I didn't get it yet. And then when Gary V started talking about it, I was like, okay, it's time to listen and understand, like, what is this? And yeah.
So let's stop there with Gary V, because it sounds like your entrance into NFTs was a little bit like mine. Let's unpack a little bit about what you just said. All throughout your real estate career, you've been a leader, you've been an innovator, you've tried to see what's next. You help other agents their experience and taking their businesses to the next level. Am I far from the mark?
I've definitely tried.
So you are a leader. You've been a leader in innovation. You've been a leader within your community. So you're seeing this trend start to open up. You're seeing blockchain start to open up. You see NFTs come to the forefront, and Gary starts talking about it. So now lead us into where you are now. And how did you transition from your world of real estate into the world of NFTs?
Yeah, so I listened to Gary, and he was talking about releasing his first NFT project, V Friends. And with that, he did a fantastic job onboarding his community, who many were very not crypto native. So I had never bought crypto before. While I knew, I think I felt that there was going to be a place for it. I just didn't, the financial side of it didn't resonate. Like it wasn't interesting enough for me to take the time. So, he had some step-by-step tools, which quite frankly was still very difficult to follow. There were some nuances being, where I am in Canada, and had to find some resources on top of what he had. But so I had to buy Ethereum in order to purchase my first NFT. And, at the time, it was a time this year when we were seeing quite a fast spike in crypto prices. And I was like, this isn't going to happen. Like I couldn't get it together. And fortunately, I figured it out. And as values started kind of softening a little. So I got lucky. Gary Vee had a little delay in his drop. So all of the things aligned for me to get my very first NFT. And from that onward, I started kind of going down the rabbit hole, as they say, and that's like an overused term in this space, but it's very much it's just what it is. And anyhow, so I started poking around and seeing what else was out there. And at the time, I noticed this project called the Bored Yacht Club, which has exploded since. But at the time, it was not inexpensive, but it was more affordable than another V-friend. And so I picked up a Bored Ape. And at the time, I'm talking Canadian currency. I probably spent about $5,000. And I was like, I didn't know. I wasn't expecting to make gains on that in any real way in any close period of time. But what really struck me was that you own the IP, the intellectual property of this NFT. And I thought, that's really interesting. Anyway, I ended up realizing that my first few NFT purchases had been lucky, good ones. So I felt a little more comfortable to purchase a little bit more Ethereum and dive in a little deeper as like an amateur collector, so to say. And that was it. And then I ended up my first big mint. It's called minting when you purchase an NFT for the first time, like when it's never been purchased before, like you're the original owner or buyer. The first one I bought was in this project called Fame Lady Squad.
So tell us a little bit about Fame Lady Squad. Why was Fame Lady Squad so important? This kind of, okay, I'm going to take a small moment to talk to my audience. You know me, I talk about women in real estate all the time. I uplift women wherever and whatever they're doing. So this segues into Fame Lady Squad, because I remember when Fame Lady Squad was minting as well. So why was it so important?
Yeah. So at the time, this was early in the summer, like July, I want to say. This summer, and it was very clear at the time that there was a pretty visible lack of diversity in the NFT environment. And you know, in this case, they're talking probably about the art in general. Not a lot of female representation and not a lot of other types of diversity either. Excuse me. So, a lot of the projects there would be like my Becky that I named her, my ape, is one of the few female apes in the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection. And there were many collections that didn't have any female representation at all. So at the time when Fame Lady Squad was released, it was the first all-female generative avatar project, collectibles project. There's 8,888 of them. So it was a really big deal. And there was a lot of hype around the project. And I know that we're probably not here to talk too much about it, but we have to share.
To talk about everything that you are, because you are interesting and I want to know about you. Before we go on about Fame Lady Squad and why it's so important, what is a generative project when it comes to NFT speak?
Yeah. So the big thing that's come out this year with NFTs is digital art, right? So this is a collectible project that people can join in, and they're part of a community, and there might be further utility. The generative part is actually about how the art is put together. So there's typically like a base likeness, like a image that it's kind of based on for all of the pieces. But then all of the different traits are independently done, and then it's coded. So the project is then coded to create a variety of different versions of that, character, if you want to call it that. And so that's when generative, that's really what that means. And what happens is there's no two that are alike. They're all different and unique. And then some end up being a lot more rare than others because they may have ended up with much rarer traits or trait combinations, or there may be certain types of traits that are very desirable and there are fewer of them. So that's really what that means.
Let's jump back into Fame Ladies now. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So it's the first all-female generative art. It's also the first all-female team. So take it away.
Yes. So at the time I was a buyer, and it was positioned as the first all-female team. So in this case, that would mean something like the artist, the marketer, the developer behind the scenes. Now in the NFT space, especially at the time, a lot of anonymity. So, the people are putting themselves forward as a name and who they are, but their avatar is probably something else. And you don't really know who these folks are. So at the time, it was very exciting. But frankly, like as a buyer, I knew it was possible that these folks were not who they claimed to be. And what ended up happening was about a month or so later, it turns out someone did some blockchain sleuthing, because you can do that on the blockchain, and kind of put some puzzle pieces together to determine that these particular folks were the same folks behind some other projects who were claiming to be completely different people. And so it was very clear that these founders were not who they said that they were. And they ended up admitting that they were men, pretending to be women. And so what was frustrating at the time was this feeling of exploitation, right? And I think it felt very personal in a lot of ways for many people. This was, given the time and given the nature of the project, a lot of people's first NFT that they had purchased. And it was also one that was gifted quite a bit. So like a lot of men had gifted this as the first NFT to perhaps their wives, girlfriends, daughters, mothers, sisters, friends. And so for them, it was their introduction to this whole crazy world. And a lot of them very, very excited to be in this space that's looking to, empower women in this environment. And then this happened. So it's very disheartening, I think, for a lot of people. And without getting into all the details, some coincidence and happenstance and just the events and how they kind of all came together, I ended up becoming the smart contract owner for the entire project once this all came out. So we were just looking to find a way to elevate the community, to try to encourage, especially the women in the community, to don't leave. We know this sucks. It sucks because the values of the project immediately dropped. And I think you kind of got that, the financial loss, and then also that that you were emotionally invested and you've lost on that too. So we really wanted to try to figure out a way to say, no, this is a space that's really important. We don't want you to leave this space. And at the time, we didn't think this was what was going to happen, but we ended up becoming me and Danielle, NFT Ignition on Twitter, the kind of new stewards at the time and leaders of the project. So we took it all over, and that's a conversation for another day about what that's meant. But I've learned a lot more than I anticipated in, 4 or 5 months about what NFTs are, what these collectible projects entail, what the possibilities are, and what kind of business opportunities there might be within this world. And we've started a podcast called From the Blockchain, looking to empower women in the space. So it's just been a whirlwind, and it's been really, really fun. And I will admit to everyone listening that I definitely have neglected my real estate business a little bit. But funnily enough, and I know we'll get to chatting a little bit about the intersection here, but I was in New York in November for NFT NYC, which is the big, NFT conference, and it was the biggest one ever, I think, just given the time and post COVID. And immediately from New York, having experienced all this, meeting so many amazing minds, then went to San Diego for the National Association of Realtors conference. And my brain's just been spinning ever since, because I just think there's so much opportunity to bring these worlds together. So it's been very exciting.
There is so much we can do to bring these worlds together. And I love, like, I could unpack all this, but I think we need to have another podcast just to talk about NFTs and what that can mean and how, you know what, forget about it. We're just going to talk about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said before, I am all about uplifting women in this space. That's what I do. The possibilities you talked about. So number one, Fame Lady was the first all-female team. So they said all-female generative art, which is very true. And you were able to save this project, create something wonderful out of it. And a place where I've been in the project. I am a Fame Lady owner. Full disclosure, I own VFriends. I do not own a Bored Yacht Club, unfortunately. I did not listen when they talked about it on Clubhouse. But I am an owner and holder of Fame Ladies and a bunch of other mostly woman-driven projects are currently in my wallet. Mm-hmm. So how does this, and let's make all the connections possible with this, how does this play into like where you're going in this world? Because you are a leader in the real estate world and in as a realtor as well, which is, I would say, a predominantly women-driven field. How does this growth and what kind of connections are you currently making between NFTs, crypto and blockchain, and your work as a leader, as an innovator in real estate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very difficult for me at this time to predict what 2022 is going to look like. Mm-hmm. But what's been really neat is, I think when I first entered the space, the NFT space, I think I had some ideas of what I thought could maybe be a possibility in the real estate environment, but I didn't know anybody in this blockchain world, or Web3 as they call it. And so now I'm feeling like I have access to, and I'm getting to know people and who's who and who's really working and doing some cool stuff in the space and who can connect you and who can refer you. Because I think this is the one thing, especially as women, getting into a space and not feeling like you can trust or know or be certain or be confident about like, who are you dealing with on the other side? Mm-hmm. Do they, and so I think right now is actually just a really interesting time. So I just want to plant that seed where it is early enough that if you insert yourself, you probably can start making some of those really awesome connections. It takes a little time because you got to get past all of the avatars that are constantly changing, different names and all this stuff. But that's what's been really neat. And so earlier this week, I actually went to my very first Web3 kind of networking social thing in Vancouver. And Vancouver is an unusually, it's an unexpected hub for this space. Which is great for someone like me, because now I'm able to take some of the folks that I've met, through Twitter and Discord and these projects, and also start meeting people in real life, especially when we're talking about like Metaverse, AR, VR. In Vancouver, there's a lot of like companies working in gaming, movies, all this stuff. So that's a big part of it here. So I think that, and you and I have chatted a little bit about some of the things we think might be able to happen in blockchain and real estate. And we're still working our way through what does that mean and some of the likely like regulatory stuff that's going to get in the way of innovation. And now I feel like I can start chatting with people back in my real estate sector and start unpacking a little bit. Like, and because I do come from a place where in that world, I'm not like random and I do have a bit of a platform. I think I could probably at least be taken seriously when I start talking about my monkey JPEGs and what they mean.
See, that's exactly what I thought Bored Apes were when I first heard about them on Clubhouse. I was like, who's going to spend thousands of dollars on a monkey? And this is like before I even and then Gary V. So there was that.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that now I feel a lot more equipped to start digging, even like starting really simple, right? Doing something. And I don't, I just think now that I've,
let's think about this a little bit. Cause okay. So everyone who's listening, this world is so new. Like when we say it's new, it's innovative. Like if you think, oh, I don't want to get into it because I'm late to the game, you're not. You are absolutely not, especially the connections between NFTs, crypto, and real estate. It is just starting. In fact, I just got a text message like a second ago. I looked down from a good friend of mine from Clubhouse, and she was like, someone just put the first mortgage up on an NFT. Mm-hmm. You can now buy a mortgage or get a mortgage as an NFT because they've written the entire thing into the blockchain. And now it is an NFT. So how's that for a JPEG, right?
Yeah. So
let's think about that. Like as an innovator yourself, how can people who are still in the mindset of, oh, it's just a JPEG, oh, this is just a fad, and they're just starting to see the light, they're just starting to see what Web3 could be, how can they go about, and this, I want to bring in safety as well, how can they go about maybe investing in crypto for the first time, maybe investing in their first NFT for the first time? Mm-hmm. How can someone who's new to this space start?
Yeah. And it's the barrier to entry is real, right? So, but that is why, as you say, it's still so early. I think the barriers will become less and less challenging as time goes by. So I think it's worth exploring now how to get in and be ahead of it. I think that there's value in understanding just how everything connects. So understanding, what is a digital wallet? Understanding the difference between like buying something in an exchange and owning or investing in something in that way versus using cryptocurrency. And so exploring the different types of exchanges and maybe even just like a lot of these exchange apps and websites, you can actually watch and monitor the values and the trends, and you can see, and it's volatile, right? So that's where it gets a little scary, but I think that you don't have to jump in to start learning. So I think for me, watching and paying attention to some of the values, for example, on the crypto side, has helped me feel a little bit more comfortable that you can never time it right, and you just have to, and with the different types of crypto, there's so many different coins and stuff. And we're going to try to unpack some of that a little bit on our podcast, because a lot of it is so beyond me still too, but learning what the primary cryptocurrencies are at the moment and understanding why. There's a couple as an example that are kind of gateways to the metaverse, and that's very interesting, I think. And just understanding what does that even mean, and then going again, maybe buying a little bit of crypto, but always buy what you can afford to lose. That's the thing everyone says. So don't lose your shirt. Don't get aggressive right away. Even if it's a couple $100, just to kind of go through the exercise of what it means to buy something, and then maybe try to pull it out and put it into a wallet, a digital wallet. And with the NFT stuff, I mean, I know a lot of us are really busy, and not all of us can go down the rabbit hole as some of us have, but there's something to be said about, if you have some interest, hopping on the crypto side of Twitter. And that's where I think as women, it can be a bit much, because it's a lot of bro culture. but we can change that.
Yes, we are going to create Web3 in our image. I swear we are.
Yes.
It's going to look like what we want it to look like.
Yeah.
But I get it. So you're talking about research, and I want to interject just one thing, because we were talking about Gary Vee before. Even Gary says that he studied, and he's a busy man. He studied for 50 hours before he bought his first NFT.
Yeah.
So study. YouTube University. You just mentioned NFT Twitter, and it's a thing. There's NFT Twitter, and then there's the rest of it. And just get out there, start talking to people, listen to podcasts, listen to Ashley's podcast. Ashley, say your podcast one more time.
From the blockchain.
From the blockchain. There we go. So learn and grow into the space. Don't just jump into it, because people have been scammed. It's the Wild West out there. So let's talk more about these connections. So the direct connection between NFTs, crypto, and real estate. And this is what has gotten me very interested. And this is what really, really drew me to you in particular, because of your history in real estate. As soon as I saw that you were a realtor, I was like, oh, she's my people. And what we can do, and it's like endless. So we are both also invested in a NFT called Ethereum Towers, which is going to be put into the metaverse. It is 2 apartment buildings, basically, with 101 floors, 21 floors in each floor. Actually, Fame Lady Squad just got a floor. Congratulations. And like, what do you think that means, or that signals for the future of even metaverse real estate? Somebody made a joke, I think, in the Fame Lady Discord, and Discord is where most of the NFT world converses, that he wanted to be a metaverse real estate agent. But what do you think is that signals for the future of real estate and this new Web3?
Yeah, so I have had a few aha moments as of late about the metaverse. And full disclosure, I don't own Ethereum Towers, but I hope to. But we did secure, we have some space for the
We'll
Fame
make it
ladies.
happen.
Yes. So for people who don't understand what the metaverse is, and there's a variety of different metaverses. Some are decentralized and some are centralized, meaning like decentralized, there's no governance of it. Everyone owns their piece. Centralized would be something like what I expect Facebook is working on. Yeah. But we're looking at finding some other space in the metaverse for Fame Ladies, like a venue of some sort. So little alpha there, that's what we call like a little planting a little seed. And we're in talks with somebody who's in charge of tenant placement, basically, in building out a community. And when you think of community, think of, I'm really talking about visualize a map with plots, and they are building it out to a certain vision. So we're talking about digital versions of commercial buildings with venues and different things. And in this space, they're, the reason we're talking to them right now is they really want to ensure there's some females in the space. And I think, frankly, it's because when they start going and looking at some larger brand tenants in the future that will want to build out some sort of, whether it's retail, like when you're talking about retail in the metaverse, that could potentially mean like digital wearables for the people's avatars. It could mean links out to buying, Gucci bags in real life or something like that. Like it really could be anything. But the point is that people can invest in these spaces, and if they build it out correctly, or some of the thinking is anyhow, then they start looking at passive income, because they're looking at tenant placement, people that want exposure in the metaverse. The same way there might be a flagship store, on downtown Vancouver, and they may not even be. They might be lost leaders. They may not even be making and generating a lot of money as the brand, but for them, it's really important that they're there and that they're visible and that they're part of this. So that was the big aha moment for me. I don't know why, as a realtor, I hadn't thought about it this way before, but this idea of like people are investing in digital land in order to become digital landlords.
I mean, yeah, because think of it this way, like Snoop Dogg has a piece of the metaverse. I forgot which one he's in, but he has an epic piece. Someone bought the piece next to him for $450,000. So to anyone else, like that sounds like a lot of money for some like metaverse piece of something that's quote not in existence. But it's right next to Snoop Dogg, who believes this is true. So I actually believe $450,000 is very cheap, because if you think about it, if you bought the house next to Snoop Dogg in real life, how much would that house cost? Probably millions of dollars. So this is happening, folks. So my audience right now, if I haven't lost you yet, listen to me, jump in. Like Ashley said, start slow. Like look up what crypto is, look up what an NFT is, go on to YouTube University. I know I already said that, I'm going to say that again. Figure out how to make a wallet. Do not, when you, remember I said this, when you make that wallet, never ever share your seed phrase. I'm going to repeat that. Never ever share that seed phrase. I know I'm going through really, really elementary steps, but Ashley, you and I know that beginners need this and they need to be constantly reminded. I know I did when I first started. So follow some simple steps and get into, I know I'm shilling a little bit, and that's what NFT people and the crypto world calls selling. Jump into the Fame Lady Squad. It is literally a safe place for women, men, everyone to learn and to experience the metaverse and to experience as it's growing and to experience NFTs for the first time. Jump into a community that you connect with. If you have the money, get a Bored Ape. If you love women's, like just like that women's thought and women's leadership, jump into Fame Ladies. There's so many projects out there. So Ashley, before I let you go, because you know I could probably talk to you for like the next 3 hours. Let's see. What is one last thing that you can leave the real estate world? And I know we'll have a lot of people in the NFT world listening to this. So also for those in the NFT world, so I'm going to actually 2 questions. Yay. So the first question is, what are some action steps that those people you know in the real estate world can take to jump into the NFT world? And for those in the NFT world, what are some ways that they can use real estate to further their journey?
Okay.
I know that second question was a little bit more. So why don't we go with the second question first?
Sure. I need you to repeat it for me.
Okay. So the second question, because this is, I think this is important for those who are following you in the NFT space and who can reap the benefits of perhaps getting into real estate as well as an investor. What can investors in NFTs and in crypto, why should they perhaps think about, if they haven't already, think about investing in real life investments, like real property, estate, like real property. We're not talking metaverse anymore. We're talking real property, real estate.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially if you're anywhere in North America, like generally speaking, housing and owning anything to do and commercial real estate too. It's just a sound investment generally, as long as you're getting good advice, right? Work with a realtor. Yes. But I think diversifying is important. The crypto world is still very volatile, and the diversification is probably important. I think one of the things a lot of folks probably aren't thinking about right now is the tax implications of pulling, like, selling some of their NFTs, getting into, putting their crypto back into fiat and whatever. So I think that if they're thinking about getting into real estate I think I am seeing a lot of that happening. People making more money than they've ever made ever, or probably imagined to have made, and they're buying their first home. And it's changed their whole life. So that's really, really cool. But yeah, make sure you get some advice, talk to an accountant probably. And I think for both, just kind of answer your first question too. And you and I, this is how we kind of originally connected, but more and more, I think what's going to be interesting beyond anything that has a transaction, anything that has a contract there's potential for the blockchain. Okay. And so that's why the possibilities for real estate are very, very real. And what I'm very curious to start seeing is more of this like fractionalized ownership of real estate that is distributed through things like NFTs, right? So it is those sorts of things, as they begin to occur, and there's gonna be, again, there's regulatory challenges. Like I think some people think they can do whatever they want. That's not the case. But start looking for those that are properly implementing some of these things. And again, depending where you are if you're in North America, I don't know what it's like outside, but in North America and US, I think it's state by state, the regulations are different. In Canada, same thing, province by province. But we are starting to see people doing like where you can invest in real estate by buying something through the blockchain, and it makes cost. There's lots of cost efficiency. You're eliminating, the need for lawyers and notaries and stuff like that. You're able to invest less money than you normally would, because before it didn't make sense unless you were investing a bit more because of those extra costs. So I think just start, now that you're hearing these words, if you haven't heard I don't know, if this is something that's brought up on your podcast all the time, but if this is, now that we've said it, I think you're going to go out and you're going to start hearing this word NFT.
You are.
And just start listening, start listening and start noticing where you're seeing it being implemented. And I think what the biggest thing for folks who are really, really new is to understand that there's so much utility that can be wrapped up in the smart contracts that can be created here. So this year you were just seeing fun art and collectibles. That's just really the beginning of all of this.
And folks, I'm going to repeat just what she said. This is only the beginning. So get in, try and figure it out. And above all, and I'm going to unpack another thing that you said, start following those people that you can know, like, and trust. It's called due diligence in real estate. It's called do your own research in NFTs. It's the same thing. Do your own research, be responsible for your money. And above all, work with people, because now I only go with people who are fully, quote, doxed, who I know, like, and trust, who I, know your customer, and start there. And you know what? Maybe you can start with Ashley Smith, Bored Becky, on podcast.
From the blockchain.
From the blockchain. So From the Blockchain has already dropped. You can find it on YouTube.
Not yet on YouTube, but everywhere else, Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, like all of the other audio platforms. So
perfect. And where else can people find you if they want to know more about you, know more about what you do, and all of the above? Yeah.
So if you're interested in the NFT side of my world, and please, I know it's going to be really weird when you see how, my online personality there, but it's I am Bored Becky is my handle on Twitter and on Instagram even. And Fame_Ladies is the project. I think it's fun to watch. It is very playful. You can go to fameladiesquad.com to learn more about that. My other stuff, like, goodness, I've neglected all my social channels for months, but I am going to start picking it back up. My name's Ashley Smith. I have a very common name. You can Google me, but there's probably like 20 of us, realtors. and Ashley_realtor is where you can find me on like Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of place. And maybe you can find your way to my LinkedIn through some of those channels too.
Perfect. I found you on LinkedIn. Yeah. So if I can do it, you all can do it too. The best thing ever though, I'm going to leave all those links in the show notes below. So Ashley, thank you so much for coming on. This was a fantastic interview, a fantastic conversation. I cannot wait to have you back.
I'm looking forward to it. And I know we're going to learn a lot over the coming months, and we'll have way more to talk about. So.
I cannot wait to learn with you. And to all of my listeners, all of my friends out there, thank you so very much for listening. I am so grateful. If you loved what you heard, please, please, please rate, review, and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And then go check out Fame Ladies and check out Bored Becky. So much aloha, so much love, so much peace. Aloha.